Chapter 7. The Thing on the Bed. Boom dumped the thrashing creature onto Myrtle's bed, then ran back downstairs to deal with Halvor. The cat bounded past, almost tripping Boom on the stairs. A coat of green slime covered the kitchen table. "Where's the fish?" Halvor asked, holding the axe over his shoulder. "Think fast, think fast. Cat took it." "What do you mean the cat took it?" Halvor asked. "Myrtle and I turned our backs just for an instant, and Fluffy dragged it off." Boom thought he sounded very convincing. He kept his voice steady, which was really hard to do considering he had just seen a fish with arms. "How can a little kitty drag off such a big fish?" Halvor challenged. "Good point. Come on, think of something." "The domestic cat is a direct descendant of the lion," Boom stated. If there was one thing Halvor understood above anything else, it was the importance of being a direct descendant. Never underestimate the power of direct descendancy. Halvor stroked his beard as he mulled it over. "Ja, come to think of it, she does like to torture cockroaches. Which way did she go?" Boom pointed to the cat door that provided access to the side yard. Fluffy used the side yard as a litter box. Halvor stomped out of the kitchen, calling, "Here, Fluffy, Fluffy, Fluffy." Boom ran back upstairs. As he rushed into the bedroom, Fluffy leapt onto Myrtle's dresser, her eyes glued to the thing that flipped and flopped on the carnation pink comforter. The thing started growling again, not like a frightened dog or an angry bear, but the kind of gurgling growl, Boom guessed, that might come from a frightened dog or angry bear if it swam underwater. Boom locked the bedroom door. His heart beat so fast he feared it might burst through his jacket. The blue-green tail arched, then smashed Myrtle's box of rye crisp that she snacked on while watching game shows. It arched again and thwacked the wall, leaving a trail of green slime. What was that thing? "Here, Fluffy, Fluffy, Fluffy," Halvor called from the side yard. "Let the big fishy go. Give the big fishy back to Halvor." A green hand reached out and felt along the bedding until it found a piece of rye crisp. The cracker disappeared into the mass of seagrass, and an unmistakable chomping sound filled the room, followed by a little underwater burp. It was hungry. The cat sat frozen on the dresser like a stuffed animal. Boom felt frozen too, like his feet were made of cement. But Myrtle, who was afraid of facing reality, courageously approached the bed. Myrtle handed the wiggling fingers another cracker, and sure enough, the little hand greedily accepted it. Crumbs flew, accompanied by more chomping, then another burp. After 3 more crackers, the tail stretched out and the creature quieted. A full 2 minutes passed before Boom edged forward. The thing seemed to have fallen asleep. Its breathing came slow and raspy, like waves rolling onto shore. The sound made Boom feel sleepy as well. Myrtle clutched the magnifying glass and gave the creature a closer look. "Each strand of seagrass springs from its head," she whispered. She took a hair ribbon from her desk and carefully gathered the grass, strand by slimy strand, into a high ponytail, exposing the wide face. Its eyes were closed, and it had stuck a thumb into its mouth. The face was human, mostly, except for the extra flat nose, and the fact that it was green and had seagrass for hair, and killer teeth. Neither Boom nor Myrtle said anything for a long time. Words seemed so insignificant. Words could not begin to describe the amazement that flooded Boom's veins. If ordered to write an essay at that very moment about how he was feeling, Boom simply would have written the word "wow" over and over and over. Could he really be seeing what he thought he was seeing? He scratched his head, setting a couple of dandelion seeds free. "I can't believe it," he murmured. "It can't be." Fluffy leapt onto the headboard to get a closer look. "It is," Myrtle said with confidence. "The tail is made of scales, while the upper half is covered in skin. It has nipples, a belly button, and 10 fingers. It's a baby mermaid." "I just can't believe it." He really couldn't. This wasn't possible. Yet the impossible slept on Myrtle's bed. Myrtle peered through the magnifying glass at the tail. "Come to think of it, I'm not sure if it's a mermaid or a merboy." "Huh?" Boom looked at the tail. Obviously, he knew how to tell the difference between a boy person and a girl person, but he didn't know how to tell a boy fish from a girl fish. It just didn't look like a tail. Excuse me, it just looked like a tail. "Let's just call it a baby for now," Myrtle decided. "A mer-baby." A mer-baby? Boom Broom didn't walk around in a fantasy world like the rest of his family, believing that a dead parent could return, or that it's possible to avoid danger by staying inside. No, Boom Broom had his feet, both the big one and the regular one, planted firmly on the ground. There had to be a better explanation. Maybe it's some kind of mutant from nuclear waste that got dumped into the ocean, or some toxic chemicals that leaked from a barge. Two-headed fish pop up all the time. I've seen photos of them in the International Enquirer newspaper. This is probably just a freak of nature. It's a merbaby. See if it's got a zipper, Boom said, in case it's a costume. Someone might be playing a trick on them. Maybe this one was one of those hidden camera shows. Myrtle lifted the tail, continuing her inspection. A little squirt of yellow landed on the comforter. It's a real tail, she said, plugging her nose, and that's real merbaby poop. The baby scrunched up its face and squirted out another little blob. Disgusting, Boom groaned. The stuff smelled like Halvor's hot fish nectar. Boom opened the window to get rid of the stench. A blast of winter air quickly deodorized the room. The bedroom window looked out onto Prosperity Street and the Mumpses' house across the way. The Mumpses' minivan pulled into their driveway. Daisy Mump, Hurley's little sister, leapt out, as did three other girls. They carried sleeping bags and overnight cases and giggled when they pointed at the Brooms' house, a rundown shack compared to the Mumpses' stone mansion. But before the girls caught sight of Boom at the window, Halvor stormed into the front yard, still holding Eric the Red's axe. The polished silver blade reflected the cloudy sky. You girls seen a big fish flopping about, he hollered over the broken picket fence. The girls screamed and ran into the Mump's house. Put that thing away, Mrs. Mump scolded, pointing at the axe. Her coat stretched across her chest like she had torpedoes under it. You're going to hurt someone. I'll do as I please in my own yard, Halvor cried, shaking the axe. Well, that's not really your yard, Mrs. Mump yelled, grabbing her purse. You're just a servant, and you aren't doing your job because that yard is an eyesore. It's the ugliest yard on Fairweather Island. Look at all those horrid weeds. Why don't you do something about them? Mind your own business, Halvor hollered. For sure. Mrs. Mump stomped her high heel. How dare you speak to me like that? If I see you swinging an axe anywhere near my daughter again, I'll call the police. She stormed into her house, slamming the door. Feeling the sting of Mrs. Mump's rude words, Boom closed the window. The commotion had awoken the baby. It opened its fang-filled mouth and began to whine, a sound like wind seeping through a crack under the door. Boom stepped toward it, and the whine turned into a growl. He took another step, another growl. But it didn't growl when Myrtle sat down on the bed and scooped it up. It peered at her with its watery eyes and made a little bubble. Why does it growl at me? Boom asked. I'm the one who saved it from the reject seafood basket. He stepped forward again, and the baby whipped its head around and gnashed its teeth at him. Myrtle smiled. She actually smiled. To Boom's knowledge, Myrtle hadn't smiled since the twister. I'm going to keep it, she said with a giggle. It's the cutest baby I've ever seen. Cute? It smelled like mud and left green slime on the walls and yellow puddles on the bed. But we can't tell Halvor, she added. Boom knew exactly what she meant. Halvor hated merfolk. During the past year, as he had worked as their cook, he had shared many stories with the Broom children, stories of Viking raids and great battles, of Viking journeys across the unknown sea, and of encounters with strange creatures. To the Vikings, the most feared sea creatures were the merfolk, who stirred up gales and lured sailors to their death with an eerie song. On a night as black as coal, Halvor had told them, a pair of green hands pulled Eric the Red's beautiful wife Matilda overboard and drowned her. All that remained was a shred of her dress hanging on the rail and a conch shell, the mark of the merfolk. Sick with grief, Eric the Red declared that merfolk would be Viking enemies until the end of time, and that all Vikings and their direct descendants were obligated to kill them on sight. Boom swallowed hard, imagining the axe slicing through green baby flesh. Even though it had bit him, it didn't deserve to have its head chopped off. You're right, we can't tell Halvor. We can't tell anyone about it, Myrtle said, her eyes widening. Why not? Because the scientists will come and poke the baby with equipment just like in E.T., and the government will try to put it in a cage just like in King Kong. Then the circus will stick it into a tank and people will point fingers at it. She tightened her arms around the baby. It began to chew on a strand of Myrtle's hair. Boom sat down on his bed to think this out. How could they possibly hide this thing from Halvor and the rest of the world? If this creature was truly a merbaby, wouldn't that be the most amazing discovery of the 21st century? Having discovered it, wouldn't he become the most famous kid in the entire world? And wouldn't that make Hurley crazy with envy? Sure, being the kick the ball against the wall champion was a big deal, but discovering a creature that no one believed actually existed was as big as stepping on the moon. Bigger! But Myrtle wanted to keep it a secret and hide it in their room like a stolen toy. What would happen when it grew up? Like when Winger had talked his mom into buying a baby boa constrictor, and then the snake had tripled in size and swallowed their cat. Exactly how big do mer teeth get? I'm not sure it's such a good idea, Boom said. We don't know how to take care of a mer baby. Please, Boom, I'll take care of it. I know you found it, but it doesn't really like you. You don't have to do anything. It can stay here with me and watch game shows. She stroked its hair. I think it's an orphan. It needs me. Boom looked over at the wall calendar where the big red circle marked today as his day. This wasn't at all what he had expected. Myrtle hugged the creature, and the gloom that she had worn for the past year fell away like a heavy cape. Sure, Myrtle, he said with a sigh. You can keep it. End of chapter 7.